Hello my beautiful makeup loving friends. If this is your first time to my channel, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Emily and today we are going to be going over all of this week's new makeup releases in Pay or Stay Away. So this week's Pay or Stay Away is going to be a little bit shorter than usual, and that's because I haven't really been super interested in anything that's launched this week, which is a good thing. And I feel like this past month there hasn't been that many things that have caught my attention, so my bank account has been relatively happy. Not 100% happy though, because I have still been buying makeup, but it's been a little bit happier than it was a couple months ago when I was liking literally everything that came out. But with that being said, this new release I am absolutely buying. This is the new Jouer Rose Gold Blush Duo. This will be retailing for $30 on the Jouer website, and it is launching on August 28th. And there is a 15% off code available through Trendmood if you do choose to use that. There is one matte blush and one shimmery blush in the shades Marigold and Rose Petal. And both of these blush shades are a beautiful, warm, light baby pink. This is right up my alley. I have recently been into a lighter, kind of more baby pink toned blush, which is kind of weird because for a while I was only going for like hot orange blushes, but lately I've been wanting to reach for something that's a little bit more soft, a little bit more pretty, a little bit more spring-like, even though it's like almost fall. I don't know what that's all about, but this is right up my freaking alley. And I've always wanted to try these Jouer blush duos. I liked all of them when they first came out, but none of them were calling to me enough to want to buy them. But this one, as soon as I saw it, I knew that it was meant to be. I was immediately in love, and I'm getting my hands on this guy. So moving on here to the next item in Pay or Stay Away, Colourpop just announced, like 20 minutes ago, just announced that they are going to be coming out with some jelly eyeshadows that look to be very iridescent-y and really colorful. We don't have a price on these yet. Trendmood literally just announced it, that they are going to be coming out with this jelly-like eyeshadow product, and I think they look awesome. I think the color selection so far, from what I can see in the promo photos, looks so pretty. There seems to be a really beautiful kind of white, purple, blue iridescent shade that reminds me of an opal. There is a beautiful gold, there's a beautiful fuchsia, a purple, a teal. These look amazing. Knowing Colourpop, these will probably be within the $6 to, I don't know, $8 range, maybe $9 maximum, but Colourpop usually doesn't mark their eyeshadows up past the like $6.50 range. So I believe that these will be pretty affordable, but I will let you guys know when I find out details on this, or if by the time that I've posted this, if they have announced the price, I will have that linked in the description box down below. But I am definitely going to be picking one of these up, if not a couple of them up, because they are all stunning from what I can see so far, and I'm really curious to know about the formula. And that's kind of the fun of Colourpop releasing a lot of products. I know that a lot of people really kind of dislike them releasing a lot of products, and I'm not necessarily on board for it. I think that you should definitely focus on quality over quantity, because I do appreciate them keeping the prices at essentially what they were when they started the company. Because a lot of times, and we've seen this lately, brands will start out with lower prices and they will jack them up real high. So moving on to the next item in the Pay or Stay Away list today, Flesh Beauty has recently announced that their second collection is now available, which is kind of mind-blowing because I feel like their first collection launched literally 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and now they're already releasing their second collection. But it is available now, and you can pick it up on Ulta or the Flesh Beauty website. Now, this collection consists of the Flesh Color Starshine eyeshadow palette for $38, the Shimmer Dimmer mattifying stick for $18, the Flesh Flip Book, that string of words just doesn't sound right to me, but that will be retailing for $22, which will consist of a blush, bronzer, and a highlight, and finally the Hide the Evidence Double Concealer for $28, which will come in 11 different shades. So the item that stuck out to me the most is that eyeshadow palette. It is really beautiful. I love all the cool tones. I love that beautiful mauve. And these shimmers look so stunning. They look to be of a more kind of lavender iridescent-y type of eyeshadow. And the purple mattes are really drawing me in as well. But I'm going to go ahead and skip over this guy because there are some shadows in there that I know I would not touch, like those grays. Gray eyeshadow ain't going nowhere near my eyeballs. I just don't need anything like that right now. But if this was an all purple quad or an all purple quint, I would absolutely pick that up. I think that would be really cool. I think that having a smaller palette that is more so focused on the purple theme would appeal to me more personally, but I can see why they would want to include some of these gray tones and just some of the other shades to kind of round out the palette. This way you can get different looks. That's just what I want in an eyeshadow palette, which is not what most people want in an eyeshadow palette. I do, however, think that this palette is very pretty, and I think that if you've been looking for a cool toned, kind of purple toned eyeshadow palette, this might be your time to pounce. So the Shimmer Dimmer Mattifying Stick intrigues me because I really want to try the Milk Blur Stick. I want to try one of those stick products in general because the concept of it is just really cool and unique, and I know it's not the most hygienic thing in the world, but I just fell for the marketing here. I am a prime example of the typical American consumer, and I fall for things that come in cool packages. But I currently do have a few primers on hand in my collection, and I don't really need to branch out and try other primers right now until I run out of those. I have 3 of them, I believe, and they're mostly sample sizes, but I don't use primer very often, and when I do, it's just on my nose and kind of in my smile lines. So I'm literally using like a half a pea size amount. So I don't really need to go out and purchase a specific primer until I run out of what I have right now. I do love mattifying and blurring primers though, because I am an oily girl and I need all the mattifying I can get up in here. So let's talk about that Flesh flipbook, shall we? Because this is something that kind of puts me off, and I don't really know, well, actually I do know why. Let's get into it. So this product is essentially a little teeny tiny miniature notebook that you take with you, but instead of having paper in the actual book itself, it has paper that has product laid onto it. This way you can rip off a piece of the paper and basically like a blotting sheet, apply it to your skin. And this specific book has blush, bronzer, and highlight in it. So essentially, if you are on the run and you were late to work and you ran out the door and you realized that you didn't have bronzer and you completely blanked on putting bronzer on, you can rip off a little piece of this paper that you conveniently have sitting in your purse and wipe it on the areas of your face where you would like bronzer, and vice versa with the blush and highlight. But my problem with this specific type of product is that I really rely on big fluffy brushes to get all of my blending work done on my face. My face can get very patchy very fast, especially because I don't use foundation underneath and because I don't use primer underneath. I literally throw moisturizer on top of my skin and then put bronzer, blush, and highlight on top. So for me, my skin gets patchy really easily because I just don't have a base down there for anything to really stick to. So if I were to put a piece of paper with bronzer pigment on my skin, there would literally be an imprint of the paper on my face that would not budge. So for that reason, I don't like the concept of this. I don't want any part of it because I know how bad that can go, and I don't even want to risk it for the biscuit here. It's not worth it. So I could see this type of product being useful for someone who is on the run all of the time or travels a lot and wants to bring some portable makeup with them. I totally see the use for something like this, but I don't think that everyone is going to need this, and I don't think that it's the most practical or convenient thing in the world. So if you are not already aware, Bella Thorne is a young adult actress who also has some singles out, so I believe she's a singer as well, but I think she's more so focused on acting. She is really well known for one of her roles on the Disney Channel on the show Shake It Up with her co-star Zendaya, who's a very popular celebrity these days. And why am I telling you about Bella Thorne, you might ask? Well, she is coming out with her own makeup line, which actually had been teased a while ago on Trend Mood, and she finally announced that she's coming out with some eyeshadow palettes, and she announced the name of her brand, which is Filthy Fang. Now, these eyeshadow palettes caused quite the ruckus on Trend Mood's page, as per usual, as everything does in the beauty community. But the beauty community had a lot to say about these specific eyeshadow palettes. Now, we don't have a release date for these eyeshadow palettes yet, and we do not have a price either, but I can imagine that they're going to be anywhere from the $30 to $40 range, just based on how people usually price eyeshadow palettes. For some reason, I don't really get the vibe from her that she would want to come out with an affordable makeup line, but who knows? So I saw the majority of people on Trendmood's page saying two things about these palettes when I was doing my typical snooping through Trendmood's comment section. A lot of people said that these palettes look exactly like Juvia's Place palettes, and to some extent I do agree, but people use the same labs. You know, not every company has their palettes custom made for them. Most people starting a makeup line just choose between a few different options that companies offer of different sized eyeshadow pans and different size packaging. So the fact that these have the same packaging as Juvia's Place doesn't really weird me out because we see this all the time in the beauty industry. So to me, I don't really think that it's weird at all that these happen to just have the same setup as Juvia's Place palette. Now, the second thing that I saw most people talking about in the Trendmood comment section was, who the heck is Bella Thorne, or why is she coming out with makeup? Because girls don't know how to do makeup. Now, I'll pop up some of Bella's looks on the screen here. And if you look at the looks that she has on her eyes here, I think that these palettes actually really match her style. We have a lot of pressed glitters in these palettes, we have a lot of fun, funky colors, and the palettes don't necessarily make a lot of sense, but I feel like this actually kind of does fit her makeup style. She seems to kind of rock a more smudgy, rolled out of bed but threw some makeup on, but somehow I still look glam type of look to her. And I actually think that these palettes represent her pretty well. But I'm curious to know what the quality of these palettes are going to be like, because a lot of times in the beauty community, when we see celebrities come out with makeup lines, they don't necessarily always do the best, and they don't necessarily always have the best quality. Now, that's not to be said about every celebrity that comes out with a makeup line, but some of them we have seen kind of skimp out on the quality control and the quality of the product. So I'm curious to see if these are going to be good or not. I don't know if I'm going to pick any up. I like the colors. You know me, I like bright colors. So maybe in the future, if I hear that they're absolutely amazing, I'll pick one up. But for right now, I'm just curious to see what other people have to say about these palettes. So moving right along to the last release that we have for this week for Pay or Stay Away, the Sephora Pro Collection announced that they are coming out with their Fall 2018 palettes. These palettes will be retailing for $65, and we don't have a date yet, but I can imagine that the date is going to be announced fairly soon because fall is creeping right around the corner. Sephora Pro is coming out with 3 different palettes. New Nudes, which is more so of a pinky, orangey, warm tone type of palette. Smoky Jewels, which is a smoked jewel tone type of palette. I think they named that perfectly. Literally spot on. And the Editorial 2 palette, which seems to have some cool tones in it, but it also has some colorful shades that seem to have had their saturation turned down a little bit. They look a little bit more muted than what we usually see in a colorful eyeshadow palette. Now, I think that all of these palettes are stunning. I remember when they dropped the first collection of the Sephora Pro palettes last year, they came out with a smoky, cool toned palette. Of course, they came out with the warm toned brown palette, and they came out with a beautiful bright colored rainbow palette. So I really wanted those last year when they came out, but the price point was just way too high for me, in my opinion. But this year, I really like the color scheme that they have going on. I really love that new Nudes pink palette. Of course I do. I love pink eyeshadow. And I feel like the inside of the palette really matches well with the name of the palette because we are seeing a lot more people branch into color and reach for bright, colorful shades to use as transition shades, to use as an all-over eyeshadow look, just using color in general. And I feel like more people are becoming more comfortable with using colorful eyeshadow. So someone who may have just reached for a taupey brown back in the day might end up reaching for a beautiful pink nowadays. And I feel like if you're going to venture into the colorful world of eyeshadows, typically you tend to go for the more orangey, red, kind of warm toned section of the colorful eyeshadow spectrum just because of the Modern Renaissance palette that introduced that to us, the 35O, the 3502. We have been introduced to these beautiful, warm, kind of pinky, orangey colors. So I feel like the name of this palette really represents something a little bit bigger than just these eyeshadows, if you know what I mean. Or am I just thinking too deep into it? I probably am, because I do that with literally everything. You're talking to someone who likes conspiracies over here. The Smoky Jewels palette looks exactly like what the name says. They are beautiful jewel toned eyeshadows that are a little bit more on the smoky side. To me, this looks like the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. So If you already have that, maybe you don't need to pick this guy up. And I absolutely love the Editorial 2 palette. There are some cool tones in there which I wouldn't really reach for because they look to be more so on the gray side of the cool tone spectrum. And recently I've been kind of reaching my hand into the blue-green side of the cool tone spectrum, but I don't want any gray. But there are some really beautiful purple iridescent shimmers in here that look super gorgeous. They look super high shine and they almost look like duochromes in the swatches. We have some beautiful shimmery blues, a shimmery periwinkle, and then we have this beautiful row of mustard toned eyeshadows that are a little bit more on the green side of the mustard spectrum. There are some beautiful berries in there as well. So honestly, I think if I was gonna pick up one of these palettes, I'd pick up this guy. But the price point is just really high for me, so I guess once they launch, I'll have to see them in person and swatch them and play with them a little bit. And then if I do end up liking them, I might pick up the Editorial 2 because it's a very unique palette in my opinion, and I think the colors really stand out. But I've been rambling here as per usual, so that is going to be wrapping up this week's Pay or Stay Away. Please do let me know down in the comments below, what are you going to be picking up this week? Are you going to be picking up anything at all? Because I'm getting that blush and I'm probably going to get some of those jelly eyeshadows, and everything else I'm staying away from. Are there any other releases that you've heard of that I didn't mention here? Or are you going to be picking up some other things that I didn't mention here that are also being released this week? I do hope that you consider subscribing if you have not already. I am doing Pay or Stay Away every single Monday, and during the rest of the week I have all sorts of makeup goodness happening here on this channel, so I would love it if you hit that subscribe button down below. I do also hope that you consider giving this video a big ol' thumbs up and turning that notification bell on down below if you enjoy watching my videos. And if you did not, then goodbye. Thank you for stopping. You will be missed. But I hope you are having an absolutely amazing day wherever you are, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Bye!